I want to talk about the breakthrough infections, which have been mildly, I would argue, maybe not mildly, but let's just be generous for the sake of the YouTube overlords, suppressed on that information as far as the rate of which that's happening. Now, let's put this in context. What they consider a breakthrough infection. A breakthrough infection is a person that was fully vaccinated and still was to be infected by COVID. Now, we talk about breakthrough infections in terms of them spreading it as well. Seattle Times wrote the other day, a lot of this information that's coming out, a lot of these doctors are chiming in, that is increasing. Now, look, I'm going to read this, but I'm just saying, I question whether or not it was always this case and if they're trying to rely upon the variant thing to like excuse it, if that makes sense. But let's read it. Since Americans, it's come from the Seattle Times, first began rolling up their sleeves for coronavirus vaccines, health officials have said that those who are immunized are very unlikely to become affected or to suffer serious illness or death. But preliminary data from 7 states hint that the arrival of the Delta variant in July may have altered the calculus. Breakthrough infections in vaccinated people accounted for at least 1 in 5 newly diagnosed cases in 6 of these states, and higher percentages of total hospitalizations and deaths that had been previously observed in all of them, according to figures gathered by the New York Times. So that is 20%, which is not anything near what they had said initially. Like I've said before, as of now, and as more their data, they always are late to the party, but as more data is seemingly collected, how we view this virus, I don't know, man. The jig's up as far as I'm concerned. But right now, it's therapeutic. This is why I said it was therapeutic. It's less about you spreading it, because you can still do that. You can still get all you fully vaccinated people who just thought you were high and mighty and you're the best person in the world and you cared so much about it, and it's everybody else that's unvaccinated that is no, you can still spread it. Right. And we've talked about the CDC conceding definitely out of that Massachusetts. If I'm not mistaken, it was Mass. And their study there showing the viral load when you're actually infected, and that there's virtually no difference between whether you were vaccinated or unvaccinated. Now, these breakthrough cases, they're saying it's starting to rise. Now, again, is that a cover? I don't know. The absolute numbers remain very low, however, and there are still little doubt that the vaccines remain powerfully protective. This continues to be a pandemic of the unvaccinated, as federal health officials often said, which, again, they're talking out both sides of their mouth. Still, the risk indicates a chance in how vaccinated Americans might regard risk. Remember, when the early vaccine studies came out, it was like nobody gets hospitalized, nobody dies. That clearly is not true. So this is coming from Dr. Robert Wacher. He's the chairman of the Department of Medicine at the University of California, and he says that's clearly not fucking true. With studies that came out that said that's clearly not true. That's what he said. I'll repeat the quote in its entirety. He says, remember when early vaccine studies came out, it was like nobody gets hospitalized, nobody dies. That clearly is not true. The figures lend support to the view, widely held by officials in the Biden administration, that some Americans may benefit from booster shots, which they're talking about now. The chances of breakthrough infection have gone up considerably, and I think the evidence is clear that they have. And the level of protection against severe illness is no longer as robust as it was. I think the case for boosters goes up pretty quick. So you want to make sure you have that immunity. You get a jab. You get a jab. You want 3 jabs? 4? You get them all. Get all of the jabs. And y'all can have mine, by the way. Y'all can have mine. That's y'all's business. But so you got 1 out of 5. So what's that? 20%. And what they're saying which is a big percentage. You consider what they were talking about with its efficiency ratings and how this virus stopped you from basically being able to infect other people. And now they're saying it's 20%. Look, again, take this with a grain of salt. I have a hard time believing that this was always the case, right? I do think there's some sort of cover here in some regards, whether it be in how they were running these tests, because none of them seem to have any random control trials, but maybe a one or two. And it seems that with these breakthrough cases, which is what they're talking about, it's like they have to explain it that way because so many people are vaccinated, right? That's the only explanation that they have. That's the only explanation that they can now rely upon. Definitely when you look at like Israel and these other places that have these high vaccination rates yet are still having these hospitalizations, deaths even, in this regards, yeah, they're still going to – it's not like they're going to admit that they got egg on their face. They're not going to say that you shouldn't take it, or there's certainly – which I have never told anybody not to do that either. But they're not going to sit up here and like express it as if you did something for no reason. Why would they do that? That makes them look very bad. If they say, okay, we got it wrong, that would make them look real bad. They're not going to do that. But it makes it interesting. More breakthrough cases rising because of the variants. More variants. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.